What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks, and we back in the building. You feel me? It's True Talks, cause True Talks. All right, let's get straight right into it. So you already know, man. The day that a lot of people have been waiting for is where is James Harden gonna go? Where is James Harden going to go? You know that he got out of OKC, not his fault. Got to Houston, got out of Houston, kind of got his way out of there. Came to Brooklyn, got his way out of there. Came to Philly. Now he got his way out of there, and now he's with the Clippers. And he kind of forced his way out of one in Houston, two in Brooklyn, and now three in Philadelphia, and three straight teams. So it's not a good look for James Harden and what he's doing. Obviously, this one I'm not too mad at because again, it's just him and Daryl Morey not seeing eye to eye. He feels finessed. He feels like it's just behind the scenes. Obviously, something happened. Whether it was he was lied to, promised, and you can kind of tell because again, I just analyze the things leading up to it, right? Just look at the tea leaves. You could see that James Harden, as a free agent, remember he got traded in his contract year to the Sixers for the Ben Simmons package, Seth Curry and them. And when that happened, literally that offseason, he signed a pinch deal. I think maybe a 1 year or 2 year deal, 1-1 probably. I'm not too sure. Obviously, it's blurry, but whatever. He signed a 2 year deal or a small deal, sacrificing so they could go sign PJ Tucker. They can go sign a couple of guys and help the team obviously build a contender and hopes to win a championship. And obviously for James Harden, James Harden's about his bread. Everywhere, like, y'all got to know, it's been bread. You remember when he was in Houston getting all that Adidas and the Brinks truck and all that type of stuff, right? Just bag. So for him to sacrifice his bag, most likely probably he sacrificed that, okay, my next contract, I'm promised the max. I'll sacrifice here, but and that's kind of the way James Harden probably operates. I don't even need to speak too more. See, just analyzing his history and analyzing what he's been about. And, a lot of people obviously said, oh, is he about the money or he's about winning? And whatever. That's I don't even care about none of that shit. Get your bread, obviously, in this new NBA. Get your bread. So he's still, again, sacrificed. Even though it's about a promise, he's still sacrificed regardless when most men won't sacrifice. Because you still, even though you're sacrificed with a promise later down the line, you still sacrifice 2 years of bread, regardless. Even if down the line you get the max, you could have got the max every time, but you sacrificed. So he wants to be rewarded or wanted to be rewarded, and obviously now Daryl Morey from his side is more like, okay, dog, you're declining. I don't know what's going on with you. Am I really going to give you the max? Maybe that's his mindset. Or he just was like, yo, we lied to this guy just to get him, And now, never going to play for that franchise again. You see how James Harden is adamant. So, obviously the bridges were burned, and thank God that they obviously, the only one who probably with a great package, is definitely going to be the Clippers, and they offered a lot. Remember, the Clippers had a lot of assets. Let's look at the trade details now, because that's obviously what happened coming into this, and it happened, in early morning, right? Late night, early morning, however you want to look at it. But yesterday, and the Sixers, they obviously received Batum, Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, and multiple draft picks, right? I know one was a 2028 or something like that. Details, obviously you can go look at the details. And then the Clippers received James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philip Petrusev. And you got to look at it that for the Clippers to receive James Harden and PJ Tucker, that's wild. That's wild, especially when you know what the Clippers kind of have already with the roster. You obviously, Marcus Morris hasn't played in a minute. Robert Covington is crucial, but, he will probably do more service on back in Philadelphia. He's going back to where he was, where he kind of made his name. Batum, obviously, like they have two now guaranteed 3-and-D guys. Marcus Morris, 3-and-D, but can get a buck. And that will definitely help floor spacing for the Sixers. That's what they've been missing, right? So they literally have PJ, like Robert Covington is a PJ Tucker bread kind of guy, but with better shooting, way better shooting. Batum, same ways. Like, it's just what their identity is. And then KJ Martin, a high flyer, can go small ball if you want to, put him at the 4, can shoot the 3 and expand in his game. Like, they have athleticism and just a lot of 3-and-D. So now Maxey It's going to be the Maxey Embiid show, and everybody else, you help, you dime to shooters, and that's what it's going to be. And then Marcus Morris here and there can get his bucket and his mid-range 1-2 dribble pull, post up, turn, fade, all of that. But I'm surprised that to trade James Harden, they literally got, and to give up PJ Tucker, but you got that much back. Like, that was surprising, most definitely. I look at this that both teams definitely winning this trade. So just from a trade perspective, it's a win-win. What the Clippers receive versus what the Sixers receive, both teams are looking, they're in a plus direction regardless. However, even if the team doesn't click or whatever what happens, they're still in a more positive direction from what they were, right? Obviously, Robert Covington, Marcus Morris, Nicholas Batum is a miss with the Clippers, but having that playmaking, and just having, you're going to have PG and Kawhi obviously do more defensively and all that type of stuff and have a more gritty type of identity, and they're going to have to just implement that and just be the focal point defensively and have to make up for James Harden, obviously. But again, I do see it as a plus in both scenarios just from a trade perspective in terms of grading it. So now that we looked at that and analyzed just the trade itself, because you see what happened there, let's go into whether this is a good or a bad trade for the Clippers. Like, a lot of people are like, oh my goodness, because the fact that you trade James Harden, keep Westbrook, keep Kawhi, keep PG, and now you have Harden. That's a big four that you're looking at just from a name perspective and just from a talent perspective, right? When you look at it now from an X's and O's perspective, a fit perspective, and just like, again, when I say fit, I'm looking at it from, okay, when you're playing or in comparison to other elite teams, like deep playoff runs and stuff like that. I'm looking at conference finals, second round conference finals type of, like, you're facing elite teams, especially in this new Avengers of the NBA, right? You got the Celtics, you got, in terms of like star-studded, like not role players, but like stars playing as role players type of roster, right? You got the Celtics, you got the Bucks, you got the Suns, you got the Nuggets. Those is probably the top four, like just packed, stacked type of team. Then you got the Clippers. Now add to that, you still got Lakers who have that, but they're not playing like it. Obviously, that's just a fit type of thing, and whether they're gonna play proper a proper system that fits with the pieces. But there's a plethora of teams that, like, especially in the West now, Warriors as well too. Like, you got, like, all right, like, they're, they can really do some Kings. There's so many teams, right? And just stack down the line. So this season's definitely exciting. You don't know you can't even call who's gonna win right now. Which is a great thing for the NBA. This trade happening is like, never did you think that a big four and a big three will be like, oh, we got a seed, or like there's other big threes and big fours like at the same time, which is crazy. The Mavericks as well too, like with their dynamic. Like, you got a lot of duels, great duels, and it's just great to see. But so let's analyze, because again, like I said, in comparison to those teams, now we got to really dive and break down the Clippers, how they mesh, and how I kind of foresee this in terms of, is this a good trade or a bad trade overall in the future, and just kind of anticipating, right? So let's look at it. James Harden, what is his assets? James Harden brings playmaking to the table. Obviously, you already know he's been a top assist guy, but the thing with his top assists, his assists normally naturally come in the James Harden offense, which is PNR, right? Him and Zubats, which probably would be, and then they help dime to the corner, and he gets a step back three off the switch, or he blows by with a floater alley to Zubats, and he's just playing off of like the PNR with James Harden. Luka plays that way, Braun plays that way, and they have a lot of catch and shoot guys, and they'll pass it to guys in shot create last minute, sometimes 7 seconds or less, whatever. But for the most part, his assists come in that realm and in transition, but he has vision regardless, right? He has, again, shot creating ability, having that step back ability, having the blow by with the floater. It's still a one-dimensional shot creating, but he still has shot creating that is potent regardless, right? Some would say that his step back was unguardable. Now he's obviously lost a step, and maybe that could be just frustration. His hamstring, obviously, ever since with Brooklyn, he hasn't fully. You could tell that he's had flashes, and he's kind of had moments where he's shown that he has the burst back, but he hasn't showed it in a full display on a nightly basis and a playoff basis every time. But his last playoffs that he just played in, he had a 40-point performance and had a clutch three and stuff like that. So again, James Harden doesn't have to do exactly what he had to do in all those other scenarios and all those other teams. He could literally be the third option, fourth option, fifth option. It don't even matter, right? They have a plethora of bucket getters regardless. The Clippers, that's what they're known for, just bucket getters galore. So when you look at it from that perspective, that's what James Harden brings to the table. The weaknesses that he also brings to the table as well, because you can't look at the positives without looking at the negatives, right? He doesn't have great catch and shoot ability. He doesn't have great off ball ability. He also doesn't have great defense. He has great post defense and great strip ability in the paint, but he doesn't have great perimeter defense and even great help side rotational defense. Again, with effort and with him trying, he does play better, which he did in Brooklyn when they were winning before he got injured, with him and Kyrie getting injured versus the Bucks in 2021 playoffs. But for the most part, those are James Harden's weaknesses. And so it's like James Harden isn't one of those superstars that has only one or two weaknesses. He has, to how I look at it, the same way he has elite offense and elite strengths, he also has the same exact weaknesses in terms. So it's like it's 50-50. That's how I look at it. And the only way James Harden doesn't become a 50-50 is if you put him in that play style where his offense can now be so potent like he was in Houston, where it's like 150. Right? His maximum potential on offense is maximized, but his defense is still fugazi, but it's only going to be 50% because the offense offsets what he's doing on defense. But again, ever since Houston, he hasn't been in that exact scenario, which is why it's been a 50-50 scenario, right? So that's how I look at James Harden, and that's why I wish he could just go back to OKC James Harden and begin in Houston James Harden, where he was able to just play off anything, come off pin down, shoot the midi. He shoots the midi here and there, but that's kind of like shot clock in shot clock predicaments, and it's kind of just situational. But for the most part, like when you look at James Harden, like I said, like pulling in the midi, coming off the pin downs, catching and shooting, playing off the ball, PNR pass, post up, like just face up game, ISO, all the works. Like he was able to do that at the beginning of his first Houston stint, like before D'Antoni even came, when he was with who was it? My brain, Kevin McHale, right? So when he was with him, right? And obviously, like, again, he just came off OKC and he was still not in that, I'm going to play one way. Only since the D'Antoni system, he played the one way, and he hasn't unlearned or relearned. He kind of unlearned his natural skill and went to play one specific way where he thought about it every time. And it literally became his characteristic now. It became his character. It became who he is. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's hard to kind of see him naturally fit, especially with the context with the Clippers, is that they have Westbrook already there. Westbrook has been able to thrive and not been able to look like he has looked when he was with the Lakers, because he actually has the ball and he's running point guard. He's able to be himself, run downhill, shoot in the mini, just do whatever you got to do, helter-skelter, just wreak havoc. With the Lakers, he wasn't able to do that because Braun had the majority of the ball handling, right? And that's why when Braun would be injured, Westbrook always played his best when you look at it just from that perspective. So now that you have Westbrook already there, who again is has a liability in terms of, remember, Harden has played with Westbrook before, but they had just bare shooters around them, and Westbrook was basically in a small ball scenario. PJ Tucker was the 5, and Westbrook was being guarded by Gobert and by the 5s, and he was just able to go downhill. And Harden played somewhat off the ball, and they meshed in Houston, and they became the 4th seed or whatever they were, 4th or 5th seed, and then they lost in the bubble to OKC. But he was able to work with Harden, but that was that specific team around them. Now when Westbrook is there, obviously with the liability from 3, and he's more so, he's like the Braun, right? Where it's literally like, I'm going to drive. It's just a Swiss Army knife, but it's more so athleticism, athletic PG, shooting here and there, but for the most part, paint, rebounds, push, and assists, and y'all catch and shoot and whatever. That's the same play style that James Harden plays, right? And are you going to go to starting lineup with Westbrook, James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi, and Zubats? Now, we don't worry about Paul George and Kawhi because they could spot up, they could stand still. The only issue is PG. Remember his fluidity and his remember he was complaining under Doc Rivers how he was playing more as a shooter, coming off pin downs, coming off down screens, off ball screens, flares, all of that, just coming off the curl, just playing as a shooter, and he wanted more rhythm to have ISO, PNR, and have more, just versatility, and just have his game overall just read and react. And so when he's not comfortable in that, and he's not having that, is PG now going to go back to closer to a pandemic P type of PG, because that's what was happening. because PG broke out of it when he now was having more continuity and more just rhythm, right? Not being the same shooter only guy every play and being that guy. So when you look at it, is that going to affect PG in a negative way? Kawhi already have no worry. You know, he played with the Spurs. He played with the Raptors. He played with the Clippers. He could play having the ball all the time. He could play spotting up. He could play however. It's Kawhi, right? He's mentally strong, so he doesn't really need fully rhythm like that. You already know. And then again, like, what is that the lineup you're going to do? Are you going to have Westbrook off the bench? Now, again, just looking from a talent perspective and an individual perspective, like the Clippers do have a talented roster. Like, they have, again, you still have Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Zubats, Terrence Mann, who was playing PG as well somewhat too. Now he's going to go to the bench. You still got Norman Powell as a six-man type of guy. You still got Mason Plumlee, right? Now Norman Powell is going to be elevated probably even more. You still got Bones Highland as a backup PG. Does he have to sacrifice even more, right? Now you add PJ Tucker to the mix too, who again is another 3-and-D guy, which you like. Obviously, like they have guys, Brandon Boston Jr. as well too. Like they have guys for real. Amir Coffey, like they have a lot of guys. So when you look at it from that perspective, like they have a good 8, 9, 10-man rotation that is literally solid, like star-studded. Like they're great, honestly, individually, but the mesh together. Now, when I look at it just from an IQ perspective and a fit perspective, because Paul George and Kawhi could play off the ball and their rhythm shouldn't be affected too much. Obviously, Paul George, we don't know, but it shouldn't be. Like there's a scenario where it won't be because they're just skilled, right? The Harden and Westbrook dynamic being somewhat of a clash sometimes could still work, right? You could also go small ball, right? You could play however. The small ball kind of gets affected a little bit now because, that's where Batum was crucial. That's where Marcus Morris was crucial, right? But for the most part, like they got some guys, you know what I mean? They're gonna have to make it mesh. I think that they're still gonna be solid with one big in at all times, with Plumlee and Zubats kind of, rotating for each other. But again, it's just that Harden Westbrook dynamic is the one to watch out for, is the one to see, is Westbrook now going to be closer to Lakers Westbrook because he's been in this realm and they've been winning by him just run around and do you. Is Harden going to be able to play and increase his off the ball game? Not just play off the ball, but increase it to the point that you're a threat so they can't shrink the floor and double Kawhi and double PG and sag off and double Westbrook and force him to pass it out to James Harden. Now he catches it. Now he's got to call a screen and do a step back. Like, that's where this might not actually work. This has potential to be either a great move, a mediocre move, or a bad move. Like, it could be any one of the three, depending on how James Harden the mind state he's in terms of making it work and working on his off the ball game and just having a mesh, or in terms of how is it going to affect Westbrook. Those two dynamic with the team. If I had to just guess, I think that they'll be okay and it'll be more so like in between mediocre and great. I don't know if it'll be fully great because that defense. Now you have Westbrook and Harden in the game again. Westbrook has worked on his defense and his effort has increased tremendously. Like he gets help side blocks, blocking even like Devin Booker in the playoffs, stuff like that. He is like you've been focused, even something blocking KD off the help side. Like he was literally being a menace off the ball, on defense. But if you're facing elite teams and you got to be an on-ball defender, can you guard? Or are they gonna just pick on Harden and he's got to come out the game? Like, you know what I mean? Like you have two guys who kind of sometimes struggle with on-ball defense. Can Kawhi and PG really make up for that? You know what I'm saying? Can they really make up for that? So you got to look at that. You know what I mean? PJ Tucker obviously being there helps and stuff like that. But, PJ Tucker could be the 4, sometimes maybe be the small ball 5. You never know. So for the most part, I do like, there's a lot of things I like, but there's some things that I'm kind of waiting to see. And I don't know if I fully like it, if I can anticipate. Like, I don't know how it's going to play out because I don't know what type of timing, James Harden is really on. If he's really like, yo, dog, like I'm coming here to do what I do, or am I coming here to just fit in where I fit in and work on my game and be able to be just an adjustable player, adjustable hooper, read and react hooper. If they got to be off the ball, be off the ball. If I got to be on the ball, be on the ball. If I got a dime, I got a dime. Just be that elite type of player, you know what I mean, that we know that he's capable of being, and he doesn't have to be clutch because you have a clutch guy in Kawhi, and then you have PG, and then you have, Westbrook and Harden, all 4 of them, right? You still got Bones, you still got guys. So when you look at it from that perspective, like, honestly, I'm not mad at the trade. I'm not mad at a trade, but I'm not as ecstatic as everybody else because I just gotta see. I just gotta see. Like I don't put James Harden on a pedestal that y'all put him on because I can kind of see through the numbers. It's like for me, it's about play style. The stats confirm it after. But if you're getting numbers in one specific play style, but it's hindering everybody else, and you're not adjusting, you're playing with new guys who like, okay, that guy you don't need to run PNR for him every time. Like him running PNR all the time with Embiid, he didn't need to. Embiid be doing short rolls. Embiid don't be like athletic Tyson Chandler, DeAndre Jordan, Capella type of big. He's literally like, oh, give it to me. Let me post work and kill. And you spot up and work on your catch and shoot game. So when I get doubled, you can flare down or relocate and catch and shoot splashy if you ask me. Banks, no, you know what I mean? So Harden doesn't really do that adjustable type of work. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, damn, this is probably one of his more awkward scenarios. Because at least with Brooklyn, they needed a PG. Kyrie completed two, KD, and it was working. But when you have that Westbrook dynamic right there, if there was no Westbrook and Westbrook was part of the trade, I would say this is a great move. Guaranteed. Especially if you have a whole year to get it done. Like, it's not like this happened late in the year. Like, it's perfect timing, too. You can really get familiar with each other and have a good continuity going into the playoffs and just get rhythm and just get adapted with each other. When you look at it from that perspective, that would have been guaranteed 9, 8, 10 out of 10 type of deal. But that Westbrook component, they don't have the same pieces in terms of a small ball center because that's the only way it worked with Harden and Westbrook because they were the same. It's a redundant play style. Obviously, Harden just does more threes, but the same PNR. I have the ball and hit, catch and shoot dime, and then the paint is kind of mine for floaters or just attacking for Westbrook. How they score in the paint is different, but it's the same floors, same spots on the floor where they score from and where they operate from, and the place of how they get their PNR, and then they get the ISO, they blow by, or they get, like, again, Westbrook will just shoot or just be sporadic. Harden obviously has more of a step back three, but regardless is a three if you sag off sometimes, and then the paint, and then that's kind of what it is. No midi, really, for real, and then dimes. And then getting rebounds and then pushing the tempo. So, and Harden doesn't even really push tempo if we're keeping it a buck. But it's the same type of playing style, redundant. And it only worked in Houston because of a small ball, which means your 5-man could shoot. And are they really going to have a small ball scenario here that they're going to just go to, maybe put PJ at the 5, and that's what they rock with, and just play the small ball, and then that enables Westbrook and Harden to kind of mesh because they didn't mesh when they had Capella as well there. That's why they had to trade him. So when you look at it from that perspective, I don't know if that clash with Zubac, Westbrook, Harden, them three, is that going to come back to an effect similar to Houston, and you're going to have to make another change. So I don't know. I'm kind of using just IQ, and I'm like, I'm happy that they did it, especially just from a Clippers perspective and just a talent perspective, but I'm still skeptical. Very, very skeptical, very skeptical. I'm not a one shoe fits all type of guy. I just read and react, and just the game tells me everything. The footage tells me everything, and just IQ, that's what I do. So again, we'll see how everything transpires. You already know. This is crazy, again, just to see. A lot of y'all is, oh my God, Harden, Clippers. They're favorites now. Again, y'all got to understand how just because this guy looked elite here in this situation does not mean he's going to look elite here in this situation. And it's that guy who's already was looking elite in that situation in Westbrook. And then when you now add this guy, is he still going to be elite in that situation, or is he going to drop down? Like, it's kind of like everything is everything. Are we going to see the chain reaction? Are we going to analyze and break down things from a real perspective? And just, that's why I'm a purist. That's the purist. It's literally eye test and using your brain and just working just by knowing how a man plays and just KYP, knowing his personnel versus this guy's personnel. Is it going to mesh? Are there going to be clashes? Or is it going to be you're clogging my area of the floor? That guy can now help off me in my weakness? All that type of stuff. Like, this is what real hoop conversations and pro level conversations look like. You know what I'm saying? So just being cerebral with it. So again, we'll see how this transpires. I think that if I had to guess, I think that it's going to be an above average move, but I just don't know if it's going to be a great move from what they had when they're facing elite teams. Like what they had when they're facing elite teams, Westbrook guaranteed the one, Bones Highland guaranteed the backup one. And then you have 3 guys and then Kawhi and PG buckets. Like, it's literally the hierarchy was perfect. The balance was perfect. You got to have a 6-man off the bench. It's not like redundant. And, it's a lot of every man is every man type of thing when you look at it from that perspective. So seeing that, I can kind of see versus elite teams how that's going to really create some damage and wreak some havoc, and that's why it's more so just got to be healthy. But now when you add this to the mix, you cancel some of the defense now, and then now cancel some of the offensive fit now. I don't know how it's gonna look and how it's gonna play out. I don't know how it's gonna move, especially when you know versus an elite team that is elite offensively and has elite defense. When you look at the Nuggets, when you look at the Suns, like you can't be mediocre at both. You can't if you have bad defense, you better have elite offense because they have elite offense, right? If you can't stop them, they better not be able to stop you. But if your offense is kind of clashy, it has some little tweaks, little minor things that kind of affect each other, and your defense has suffered as well too. I could see where this makes them more of a mediocre elite team, not a guaranteed elite team when the two elites are facing. So I don't know. Like I'm iffy about this. I'm more on the negative side than positive side, honestly. When I keep it a buck, knowing what they had, that's my conclusion. I don't know if it's a great move. I think, like I said, I think it's a mediocre move. I think it's gonna be worse than what people even think. Not like it's bad, not that it's fugazi, but what people envision, I don't think it's gonna be that. They're gonna have moments, they're gonna have flashes, they're gonna have, but versus elite teams in the West, like this is real elite teams now. I don't know. I don't really know. You already know. So again, it's True Talks, because True Talks. Share, like, and subscribe. We out here. There's no doubt here. There's no drought here. You feel me? I appreciate y'all. You already know. Again, spread the word. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, bro. This is what elite looks like, yo. The Clippers is on that timing, yo. Y'all, when the man's try to count the Clippers out, which I never did. I just don't know which Clippers team is elite. The one they just traded away, or the one that they're gaining. We have to find out, and all due, in timing is everything, and time will tell, right? So we'll see. We'll see. You already know. Again, spread the word. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. I appreciate y'all. You already know. Click that notification button so you know when I'm here. Because I'm here. You feel me? I appreciate you. You already know. And I'm out, man.